Well, our big focus this morning, China's Victory Day parade. The leaders of China, Russia and North Korea have been photographed walking to the parade together. That is a striking image. It has been beamed onto large screens in Beijing. Xi Jinping is showing off China's military hardware at an event attended by leaders from Russia, North Korea, Iran and Myanmar. China's president appeared on the main stage and started a speech dedicated to the foreign guests as well. That speech has now concluded. Do stay with us as we bring you the latest from the military parade that's taking place in China. Vishal Vivek is joining us from the newsroom at the moment with the key takeaways as Xi Jinping wraps up his speech. Vishal, we've given to understand that Xi Jinping has addressed the huge crowd that's gathered there. Take us through the key takeaways.
Yes, and in his speech he said that China would never be intimidated by any bullies and always forges ahead. These are some of the excerpts of the speech that he has just given, and central Beijing is almost a fortress right now as we speak. There are thousands of military personnel there. The military parade itself involves thousands of people. It remains to be seen how many leaders have actually made it to this huge conference, because we were expecting at least 26 big leaders from across the globe, and Kim Jong, the North Korean leader, is already there. Putin is already there. He was there for the SCO meet as well. So the three leaders, Putin, Kim and Xi, they have been allies for a long time, but this is the first time that they've been pictured together. This is the first time they've met, congregated together. So that marks a significant moment in the history of geopolitics, because they have been allies, as I mentioned, but how this troika will move forward, that will have to be seen. Analysts are expecting new hypersonic missiles, unmanned underwater drones and fighter jets to be on display. This is a show of China's military might, so there will be a huge display. There's no surprise in that. This is also China's moment, to show to the world that it also has a big clout on the global stage. US is not the only one which is a global power. China has a long-term strategy of projecting itself as a counter to the US, as the only power that can stand in the face of the US power. So China is sort of building up on that. So we'll have to see how this unfolds. But many powerful leaders are already there. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian is also there. So many big leaders are there. Even Pakistani Prime Minister are there. So we'll have to see how this unfolds. But China has been able to attract a lot of attention due to this.
Also, Vishal, it seems that the US President Donald Trump is clearly aware that this parade is taking place. He has posted on Truth Social right now about it, saying, and I quote, "The big question to be answered is whether or not President Xi of China will mention the massive amount of support and blood that the United States of America gave to China in order to help it to secure its freedom from a very unfriendly foreign invader." Donald Trump has further added, "Many Americans died in China's quest for victory and glory. I hope that they are rightfully honored and remembered for their bravery and sacrifice." In fact, in his latest post on Truth Social, the US President has further added, "May President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration. Please give my warmest regards to Vladimir Putin and Kim Jong as you conspire against the United States of America." He signed off with President Donald J. Trump. Vishal, it seems clear that the US President is clearly irked by the presence of Vladimir Putin, Kim Jong and Xi Jinping all together.
Yeah, clearly he seems to be missing out on a lot of these big congregations. We heard that on the SCO stage also he was reportedly snubbed. There was hardly any mention of him, and also when you speak about this latest post from him, it clearly shows that he is sort of feeling being missed out of this, because clearly China has invited a lot of these most powerful people on the planet, but it did not extend the same courtesy to Donald Trump. Even though they have, sort of tried to make their ties more positive than they were before, because both US and Russia were long-term, adversaries. That has sort of changed in the recent past, and even China has sort of enjoyed sort of a reprieve from the US, because it has not attracted the same amount of tariffs that India has. So it could be, assumed that Donald Trump would have expected that he would be invited, but that's clearly not the case. Even Pakistan PM is there. So he would be irked, as you rightly mentioned, by this huge congregation. But China is in itself a huge power. It has one of the biggest, it has the biggest navy in the world, by far. The 200, it's some analysts estimate it's 200 times more powerful than the navy of the US. So that gives you a scale of how powerful China actually is. So this is an opportunity for China to exert its influence on the global stage, and it's rightly doing so.
Right. Vishal, meanwhile, in terms of the snap analysis on the Xi, Putin and Kim photo, it is an image that, had it been published just a few years ago, would have been dismissed as a piece of mischievous photoshopping. Yet, the leaders of Russia and China, accompanied by the head of the pariah regime whose mission to arm his country with nuclear weapons had been opposed in the United Nations by his two companions. But dramatic shifts in the geopolitical landscape, Russia's invasion of Ukraine and, crucially, the re-election of Donald Trump have combined to bring Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin and the North Korean leader Kim Jong together. But Vishal, just in terms of Donald Trump's latest response, while he is clearly aware that the parade is taking place, he has signed off on a bit of a odd note, right? Saying that may President Xi and the wonderful people of China have a great and lasting day of celebration, while also adding that give my warmest regards to Putin and Kim Jong as you conspire against the United States of America.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's hard to imagine what he's thinking right now, because most of the posts that you mentioned it strikes a positive note. He's congratulated China on the big victory, because as we all know, historically the end of World War II sort of started at the same time when the Japanese were defeated on September 2nd, 1944. So that will he's trying to congratulate China on that, because end of World War II also signified China's victory, and US had helped in that cause, because US troops were fighting against the Japanese troops in the Pacific. So this is a significant moment. He's trying to cater to the historical context here, but at the same time he's also bringing in the new context, which is this new global order that we've been talking about, that's been sort of propelled by a lot of these new developments. Trump walking into the White House for the second time, these new tariffs, which has brought in this new trifecta of power in the world, which constitutes of PM Modi, President Putin and President Xi Jinping that we saw at the SCO. So everything seems to be in motion at the moment. He's trying to strike a chord with all of them, but it's hard to assume what it exactly means. But for now, it's just China's show at the moment. China is quite, as I mentioned, quite powerful, and it's showing its military might at full display right now.